Okay, another Banggood kit, another clock. I do like the clocks, which I've said many times before. This is a reasonably straightforward one, I think. There's no instructions. It might very well be on the website, so I'll check that out. Let's have a quick look at what you get. That's the main PCB. A black coloured PCB, nicely screen printed, and you can see all the tracks on there. Everything is through hole, so we don't have any surface mount components, which is nice. And I think the green sticker means I've got green LEDs, but I could be wrong because I can't remember what I ordered. BPG, I have no idea what that means. Hopefully the G means green. And let's have a quick look at the state of the pins. Yeah, they look okay. Quite often in transit they get bashed about. They're okay on that one, of course. Let's see what they're like on this. Yeah, they're okay, but if they are bent, you just bend them back again. As long as they're not broken off, then you're good to go. So that's that. These two sheets of plastic are the make up the case. They look a bit rough, but they've got protective film on them, so that'll just peel off. But we'll do that close to the time. So PCB case, and as is typical, they use mini USB to power the chip, and so that means it's going to run on a nice and simple and safe 5 volts. Probably just pull less than half an amp, probably not even that. And finally, the bag of tricks. So let's have a look, see what we've got inside here. We have a chip. We have a bunch of resistors, and I think I'm right in saying that all the resistors are the same value, so that means that we have even less need to worry about finding the instructions. We have a crystal, which will be for the clock reference. That I think is a thermistor. Let's see what's, sorry, I'm knocking the camera about a bit. That crystal is, there's no value marked on it. Don't know what value those would be. 12 meg, something like that, doesn't really matter. So there's a thermistor. What else we got? We have a battery holder, which I believe will be for a CR1220, which I do have a supply of because they don't always supply them with these kits, and unfortunately this is one of those kits. We have the dreaded buzzer, which I tend not to install anymore because they do make an absolute racket, and more often than not I can't work out how to turn the bloody things off. So we have a push to make switch, another one, 2 of those. We have the mini USB jack, and hardware to put the case together, so some nuts and bolts. We have, looks like a spacer of some sort there. I don't know what that's for. Oh, those are right. That will be putting the case together. So there's 4 of those. So we're going to need those spacers, and we have another chip. See if I can get a focus on that for you. Bring the light in a bit more. I don't know what that says. Never mind. Any road up. The chips soldered directly in the board. There's no sockets for them, and we have a 16 volt 100 microfarad electrolytic capacitor, and I think that's it. So this should be a reasonably straightforward kit to put together. We have a little capacitor there, 104, is that 104 picofarad? No, I can't remember, that can't be that. I should know what 104 means, but I'm damned if I can remember. I'm no expert. That's the thermistor. So one assumes it's going to be able to tell the temperature. No photoelectric cells, so that means there won't be any automatic dimming of the display. The only thing that I'm not 100% sure of is the orientation of the LEDs. So the LEDs are going there. I suspect the writing will go at the bottom, so they'll go on like that way with the writing at the bottom. That would be my guess, but I probably need to try and check on that, because once they're soldered, they are soldered, and they are a swine to get back off again because there's so many pins. Okay, so that's all the components. The next thing to do is to put it all together. Right, okay, so I think the first thing I will do is the resistors. And I'll need 6 of those, and they have supplied 3, 7. They always tend to give you a few more spares in these kits, which is always nice. But in this case, I only need 6, so we'll pop those in. 2 stuck together there for some reason. And as I say, everything is through hole, so no surface mount components to give us grief. So let's pop the first resistor in. Like that. And try and keep the colours or the bands, the colour bands of the resistors the same orientation, just to make it look nice, and for no other reason, because it doesn't matter with resistors or this type of resistor at any rate. There is no polarity, so they're popping in there quite comfortably. One of the things I do try and do is just keep an eye on all the components, just to make sure that by populating some components, you're not going to make life difficult by or blocking the ease of soldering other components. So try and get it in a particular order, but putting resistors in first tends to be traditional, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm pretty sure that this is a green LED, which is what I wanted. I can never remember, because the thing about Banggood, it does take quite a long time for them to post, or for them to deliver stuff. But you know what? Considering they're so cheap, they are ridiculously cheap, I'm not going to complain about that. Right, give yourself a bit of solder. And we'll start soldering these guys up. And as always, what I do, and you don't need much solder for these guys at all. Just solder one side first. Oh, did that solder? I think it did. Like that. So that's just one side of each resistor populated, then I go over the other side and just make sure that they're all nicely flat against the board, which they seem to be. So now we can solder the other pins, or the other legs, like that. The actual pads to solder are very, very tiny, I have to say, very tiny. So you don't need much solder on these. A quick dab and you're done. No more than that. One more, and then I'll just take it off camera and have a good eyeball, just to make sure all that solder is in, which appears to be. So next thing to do is to crop off these legs. They seem to be reluctant. And the last lot. So soldering these things is pretty straightforward, and there we go. Not the best soldering in the world, I know, but it usually works. So what shall we do next? Well, I did actually go on the website, the Banggood listing for this device, and there is a very, very comprehensive set of instructions with photographs and everything, so that's good. So what I shall do is I'm going to follow the instructions that they give in terms of what to populate next. So let me check out what needs to go in next, and I'll come back. Well, there's no weird and wonderful sequence in soldering these things, so I think what I'll do next is let's do the chips. Let's do the large one first, and that falls straight into the board, making sure that the notch on the chip matches the notch on the board there, and similarly we'll do that with the small one. So let's pop that in. I think that will be okay to do those next. And again, rather like the resistors, I'm just going to solder one pin, then check that the chip is nicely flat on the board. And it is. And then we can therefore start soldering all the other pins. Let's go from this end. Not putting much solder on them at all. Perhaps I'll put a little bit more than I have been. But you get the idea. I'll burn my fingers in a minute. Quite a few pins on this particular chip. Probably want to put a bit more on that. I think either my soldering iron isn't hot enough, or there's a real heat sink action going on somewhere. Because that's better. That was starting to get a bit difficult to melt the solder for some reason. I just wasn't holding the iron in the best orientation, I don't think. And let's do the other side. But yeah, this is all fairly straightforward stuff. Let's just finish soldering this particular chip. Then we'll have a look at some of the other components. You don't need to see me soldering everything on. I'll do the smaller chip next, but we'll have a look at some of the other components and where they live on the board. And there are components that need to be populated on both sides, so that's worth noting. So there we go. Let me just have a quick eyeball of those that soldering. Yep, that looks okay. Yeah, so the crystal needs to go there, and you do need to solder the crystal to that plate. So those two holes there for the legs of the crystal, and then the can of the crystal needs to be soldered right down to that plate. We've got the switches, will go either end, one there or one there. Crystal I just mentioned, we've got the smaller chip to go in there. And then, after we've done that, we'll flip the board over and do to the side. So let me populate those first. Right, so that's that side of the board populated. And of course, the other thing I need to do is put in the jack for the mini USB, which is quite tiny. As you can see, the pins are quite tiny. The larger ones are just to mount it, and the other pins will be data and power. But obviously it's only interested in power, and you can probably just see the tracks there for the power pins. So everything's populated on that side of the board, so we just need to flip it over and start populating this side. And what we were going to have here will be the electrolytic capacitor, which will go there. We have got a little ceramic capacitor, which will go there. The battery holder will go over this side, and then we've got what I believe to be a thermistor will go there. So let's get those guys soldered up. Right, so that's all the components, including the transistor, the two capacitors, and the battery holder and the thermistor. They're all soldered in. So the only components left are the LEDs. And for the LEDs, you'll see there's some writing on the bottom of each of them, and that's the important point. They are on the bottom. So you'll see that the position of each LED is shown as L1, L2, L3, which means that they need to go in that way. Okay, so with the writing near the locations of L1, L2, L3, like that. So each of those will pop into the board. Something like, I think the pens are bent. So at any rate, I will do the soldering off camera, but they will all basically go in like that. And once they're soldered in, we can power it up and see what happens. So let me do that and I'll be back. Right, LEDs are now installed, and I also decided to put the buzzer in the end. I'll probably regret it, but there you go. So the kit is fully complete. I need to find a backup battery for it, but all of that's pretty academic unless it works. So let's find out if it does. So I've got a power supply here to my mini USB plug. So let's pop that in and see what happens. Ugh. Ah, and we have life. Let's tone down the lights. And it's 73 Fahrenheit, although I prefer Celsius, but never mind. Don't know what that's supposed to be. Probably 1st of January. It thinks it's Saturday. It's not Saturday, so obviously it'll need setting up. Happy birthday. I didn't realise it was my birthday. Well, thanks very much, but it isn't my birthday. What I will say, though, is that these LEDs are incredibly bright, very green, although I think on the video they show a little bit on the white side, so I might be able to give a little bit more light. Whether that helps or not, I don't know. Probably not. But I like the scrolling display. Now I think with these, if you hold one of the buttons down, right. So now I can set the time. Okay, all right. Let's not bother with that. Okay, so let's try again. Oh, it's gone dead on me. Why has it gone dead on me? Oh, all right, it's showing me the temperature. Fair enough. So let's try that again. So time date. I'm guessing that's trying to say alarm. That doesn't look quite right to me, but never mind. Font, you can change the font of the numbers. Display, see what that does. Type 3. Okay, change it to type 4. Type 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's try type 5. Okay. Doesn't seem to be any different to me. Let's try display type. Oh no, I think I'm not very good at this. Right, display. Select display. Let's try type 1. Yeah, still doesn't look any different. Oh, well, I'd have to look into all of that. Point is, it works, so that's great. I'm going to unplug it now. Say, I think I might have a... I'm pretty sure it's a CR1220. Sadly, they don't provide one. That battery holder, by the way, is a little bit wobbly because one of the problems is that one of the components, which is this particular switch, it's got 4 solder points underneath where the battery holder is, and unfortunately the battery holder therefore can't sit flat against the PCB, so it's a bit on the wobbly side, but it doesn't matter, it's not structural or anything. But yeah, I like the look of that display though. It's nice and bright, very clear, and I rather suspect it will look even better once we have put the case on. So that's what I'm going to do next, and when I've done that, which should be fairly straightforward, no rocket science here I don't think. So once I've done that, I will come back and I will show you the finished article. Right, so the case has been installed. You can see the spaces there for keeping the back plate away from the PCB. And I think you've got to be a little bit careful here that you don't over tighten the screws, because there's not enough nuts to attach the screws on the front together. So what I'm basically saying is it needs a nut there. Otherwise, as you can see here, if you make it too tight, you get this certain amount of curvature in the panel. It's only very thin plastic, so I'll probably over tighten those a little bit. At any rate, it's on there, and it does look very nice. And again, these kits are so inexpensive. Because of that, I sort of tend to give them a lot of latitude in terms of quality and design and all the rest of it. But you know, I think a little bit of thought has gone into this one, and I do like the LED display. It's very bright and clear. But let's see what it's like with the case on, with that smoked coloured plastic covering the LED. So let's plug it in again. Horrible noise, and yeah, look at that. That's so clear. With, I don't know what that's telling me, but you can see that some of the LEDs are brighter than others. Let's see if I can tone the light down a little bit, just to make it look a little bit more as I'm seeing it. But it looks a bit white on the video, but it is actually a very bright and deep green colour. Very nice indeed. I like that. It looks great, and of course it will stand up on its own with the on the edge of the plastic, and yeah, I think that's great. I did find a battery, so I've installed the battery. You can't see it through the smoke glass there. Oh, actually it's on the front, thinking about it, I think. Or is it, I've lost it? Yeah, it's just in there. But yes, it's got a battery installed, and I just need to go and read the instructions to see how to set it up. And all in all, I think that's a great little kit, so very impressed with that. So hopefully you enjoyed helping me build this clock, and I've got some more Banggood kits ready to be built. I've got more that I'm going to be ordering. So the next one is also going to be a clock with a bit of a difference to it. So we'll have a look at that next time. In the meantime, thanks very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you again next time. Cheers.